also very real. If he was going through something, he wouldn't be afraid to tell you how he felt, which I think is important because we all go through hard times and struggles. And Grandpa, if he was feeling sad, he'd say, "Hey, you know what? I'm not feeling that great right now, but it's okay." And he was the one of the toughest guys I've ever met, and such a great friend to me. And I remember his timing was always incredible. I was going through a particularly hard time in school and just being away from family. I was really depressed, and I feel like his phone call just couldn't have come at a better time. And just hearing his voice and just telling me, hey, he'd say, "Hey, Nick, old buddy. Hey, buddy." Every time every time I saw him in person or on the phone, and it always warmed me and made me happy. And he called me and he turned my semester around, and I think probably my life at that time. So the redeeming power of him. And
I was doing okay. The words are on the back of your program, in case you're interested in following along. Pencil marks on a wall. I wasn't always this tall. You scattered some monsters from beneath my bed. You saw my team win. You saw my team lose. You saw when my bicycle went down again. If so, I would call you by name. And I said, heartache healer, secret keeper, be my best friend, candlelight. I said forever, 2 a.m. Still I will call you by name. Oh shepherd, savior, pasture maker, hold on to my hand. And you said, I am. The winds of change and circumstance blowing and all around us, so we find a foothold that's familiar, and bless the moments that we feel you nearer. When life had begun, I was woven and spun. You let the angels dance around the throne. And who can, when I am free, freighter, maker, life sustainer, comforter, healer, my redeemer, Lord and King, beginning and the end. I am, yes I am. I am.
I'm Greg Robbins, his son. I thought that song could have gone on for a lot longer, so I wouldn't have to talk immediately. But yeah, I just have sure been around a lot of places in my life and have yet to find a sweeter, kinder individual. He's my best buddy that I've had, and just loved him to pieces. Only guy I ever felt calling a cutie pie, because it just was. Even though he was masculine and was one of the hardest workers you could ever know in your life, and to have that type of persistence and resistance to never let anything get you down regarding the situation or what had happened was an amazing thing to watch, and I can't imagine a better example. And Nick was right. He had the most impeccable timing to know when to give you a call. I don't know how, well, we probably talked more, so that would make sense, but yeah, I just have one story about him. I was probably 6th to 7th grade in the summer, and I decided I wanted to be independent and that I should probably start thinking of getting out on my own, I guess, and that I would pay for my own clothes for the school year. So I must have mowed 800 yards in Russ North and Sioux North's neighborhood there, and I don't know if my pricing was exactly where it should have been. I think it cost me more money to mow the lawns than I made, but Dad always had the lawnmower ready to go for me every night, and with gas. And so anyways, the first and the only time I went to a mall, a shopping mall with my father, was that time when my mom was starting her travel business. And I don't know how it happened, but I talked him into taking me shopping for clothes for the year. And I think I had $78.14, and I went to the Gap because the Gap is cool, at least it was back then, and had there's just the most beautiful cargo shorts, these ugliest things you've probably ever seen, but I decided I wanted them, and I looked at the price tag, and it was $27.95, and this is pre-inflation, but I was really hesitant on spending a third of my money. I might have been in the mall 30 seconds at that point, and I kept looking to him to ask him what I should do, and he offered to pay, and I said, absolutely not, I want to do this on my own. And I finally, after a lot of deliberation and talking back and forth, he was the most perfectly impatient man in the world, he had had enough, and so he looked down at me and said, sometimes you need to spend a little bit of money not to look like a dork. And I wanted to tell everybody too that it's just, for a guy that didn't want a funeral, it's pretty amazing you guys all showed up, and our family loves every one of you, and I'll miss them every day, and just love you guys, and thank you for being here.
Well, I'm going to use this because I don't like to have to hold it, but the wind's going to make me move faster, I can tell. I greet you with love and great feelings today. I have to admit, I've watched my dad play golf. I've watched him for 50, 60 years, and I know he was playing for 20 before that. It's the first time I've ever seen him go for the wrong hole. He just doesn't. He never would, and so that's kind of... so anyway, I want to thank all those that have participated thus far. You can tell he had a He made a big impact on our lives. And I know it's warm outside today and we're all tired of sitting, and I know he thinks this has already gone on way too long. So I'll try and keep it brief. The challenge that I face is that my dad was so humble a man that most of you don't know him. You really don't. You may think you do, but you don't. And I think I take most of the remarks I made from a letter that I wrote him a few months ago. So hopefully you'll get a sense of how I feel about him, and maybe a little about what he's all about. First off, I'd like to tell you, Dad, what a great dad you have been. I have been walking down memory lane and thinking about all the great times we had. From boating trips to Mexico, golf, tennis, stocks, skiing, whatever. It was always a great time. I know, Dad, you never considered yourself much of a teacher, but in my mind and opinion, you're one of the greatest teachers I've ever known. Here are just a few of those examples. You taught me from a young age to work hard and to play hard. You always had me at your side when we were working and when we played. Every Saturday morning was work morning, and we would go out and we would work together. You know, I see most of on a sidelight, I see most of the people in the world today. Son, go mow the lawn. Son, go pull those weeds. It wasn't like that. It was, Jeff, let's go pull the weeds. And we'd go out and we'd pull the weeds. And that was a remarkable thing. When I was just 10 years old, you taught me that you can build a 16-foot kayak in a 14 by 14 square patio. And that when paddling that same double kayak, you should work together as a team. You taught me to get the boat ready. He'd call on Friday afternoons or Thursday afternoons and say, Jeff, get the boat ready, we're going. So I'd go out and get it ready. He'd come home, hook it on, and we'd be off to the lake. And he also taught me that the best water skiing is always after the storm chases away the other boaters. He taught me an Austin Healey takes an incredible amount of effort to keep it running well and should only be painted British racing green. Sports cars are fun, and fixing them up is even more fun. You taught me how to fish, from bass fishing and stripers to trout or whatever else we could go after. You taught me how to stand in a stream and fly fish. I know he did that with Nick. Did he always sit down? Did he fish downstream of you? Yeah. Do you know why? No, it wasn't to get the best fish. It was so when you slipped, and like I did like 5 times, he would be there to pick you up and pull you out of the river. And he did. He plucked me right up out of this Weaver River because it's so slippery up there. You taught me to play tennis and then carried me to the hospital. When I was playing tennis, I broke my leg. We won't go into that. You also taught me to play golf. A part of your life, someone looking in from the outside might think that golf is the most important part of your life, but I know better. You gave up golf in your prime for a period of time in my youth to spend time with us as a family, and by doing so, you taught me that you loved me and your family more than you loved golf. He really did that. I remember he came home, he'd been golfing, he came up to the tournament up here and was in the all-church tournament and took, I think, second or fourth place. And he came home and he said, that's it, I'm done. And he quit golfing for the time that we grew up. He picked it back up with a vengeance, though, when we were out of the house. That was a period of time that we got to spend many hours together, and I will be eternally grateful for those sacrificial years. It taught me to never fear doing what I don't mean, and electrical and finish work, and he always hated finish work, though. And with all that knowledge you imparted to me, I've started to build a career. I know you don't think of yourself as a religious man, and maybe for a season that wasn't your strength. But as time passed, you became more of a Christ-like man than I ever hoped to be. You worked for the blessings of the temple, and you showed me how I too can change. Your dedication to indexing and home teaching are still examples to me. I know home teaching isn't what we're calling it today, but you were ministering as a home teacher long before that was ever expected. And I was impressed when I was his partner growing up. The bishop always assigned us the single women. I don't know why, but it was always the single women, and all I could figure was that they trusted him. You may not have had much formal higher education, but you always knew what mattered.